Hi everybody, Zelleranth here. I thought I'd just go over real quick my thoughts on Simona when it comes to actually pulling for her. I've already kind of gone over her kit in a previous video, so if you want to go see more in depth on her kit, just look at my previous video from a few days ago. So right now I'm kind of just looking at my thoughts on upcoming characters and pull priority when it comes to Simona. And so if we take a look at the previous chart or the order that they came out on release with Taiwan, after Simona, as you've probably seen with many other content creators, has stated that there's many T0 potentials that are coming up with Sophia, Auguste, Krakoa, and then you got other really good ones like a Kanbei too. Now, that's four right back to back that are considered 2-0 in many tier lists. Kanbei not as much, but I know Krakoa, Auguste, and Sophia are up there in the tier list. So we get to the point where we have Simona, who a lot of tier lists have her down in the third or mid tier. As I just discussed before with her kit, she's very control orientated, with her ice being able to freeze and slow down units, as well as having some defensive and tanking capabilities. Now, I've seen there are rumors of potential of there being a shake-up on who will be coming out next, some stating that Krakoa could be coming next versus Sophia and Auguste. So there is potential for the order to change. And so for anyone that's, I'd say if you're not close to the 180 pulls needed for a very specific character that you want, one tactic that you can use is you don't have to pull right away. Their banner will be out for 2 weeks, and you will know who the next unit is after Simona. So if they change it to be Krakoa and they're one that you're willing to skip, that might give you more opportunity to pull on Simona. So my thoughts are, if you're at the 180, so you have 180 pulls saved up, so you have enough for a guarantee of your character that you want, you have enough to get at least one, then you're in a really good spot to do what I would just say is just throwing out some pulls. So Simona, for a lot of people, to me, especially the free-to-plays, she's one to me that you throw a few 10 pulls on. So if you have the 180, and then say you don't plan to get Krakoa, and then you see that she's coming up on the next banner, you know you have 2 weeks of Krakoa to save up some pulls. So you'll have events that come out, any new story modes, your dailies, the little bit you get from Clash. You'll have a little bit of currency coming in. And I've seen estimates that being around 30 to 50 per month. So if you just divide that by 2 for the 2-week duration of the banner, you can expect to get 20 to 30 pulls. It really depends. I'd always estimate on the low side when it comes to that. So if you have 180 already saved up, or you're close to it, and you see that the next unit's someone that you're going to skip, but you do want Simona, but you don't want to throw 180 at her, you can go with the strategy of just throwing a few 10 pulls on her. And if you get lucky and get her, you get her, or you don't, and then you've just built up pity for the next unit. And it'll go towards them. And one reason I think this is a good idea is what people really don't seem to see in the rates of this game is with that 2% gotcha rate you have for getting a legendary, your odds are actually quite good in this game in terms of compared to many of the other ones that I've played that I've seen it compared to, especially the Hoyo games. I know there are some more out there that are more generous, but most of the big name ones that everybody compares it to would be the Hoyo games mainly. And then you have other ones like Wuthering Waves. But with that 2%, even though you can lose multiple 50-50s in a row, that 2% more than makes up for it. And just as you can look here, I have a little spreadsheet I created just on the basic probability of getting the desired legendary, which would be the specific unit on the banner. And then you have the probability of just getting any legendary. So if you throw 20 pulls at it, you may not actually get Simona, but you might get lucky and lose the 50-50 and then just get a different unit that you didn't have, rather than waiting all the way until the unit you want comes out and then throwing your pulls on there. Because even a lost 50-50 and getting a new unit is good. And then you still built pity up towards the 180 if you need to go all the way to 180. So my thoughts on it is just, to me, she's an absolute throw some pulls at it. She's a great unit, will be extremely good in PvP. Because PvP is going to be more about controlling the battlefield. Because you play with the top tier DPS characters, when you're doing PvE, you're versing the AI. Everybody knows the AI. You can manipulate the AI. But if you're doing PvP, especially when you're playing against whales, and other players that know what they're doing on the tactics side of things, if you have a character that like you have Barrel or someone, and then you're going to throw a meteor out there, they know what your potential plan's going to be, and they will try and anticipate your moves and avoid the tactics of the stronger characters. But someone like Simona can control the battlefield a little bit better to give you advantage. So if you're really wanting to get into PvP, especially if you want to compete against whales to a certain extent, I mean, if you have a whale that gets the best PvP characters and invests heavily into them through spending money, you're not going to beat them if they know what they're doing. But you should be able to, with good tactics and good characters, be able to beat the whales that just buy the tier 0s but don't think tactically at all. They just want to win with their wallet. I think Simona is going to be a very good character for that. And so just kind of looking at the order, I'd say she's worth a good 30 to 40 pulls, just looking at the odds. Because you should be able to save up that much more within the next month or so, depending on the units coming out. That's, like I said, if you're on that edge of the 180, I'd actually wait till the end of her banner to kind of see what's coming up next, to see if they're a character you're willing to skip. But if you can get up to the 30 or 40 pulls, you can see you have a 25 to 33% chance of actually getting her. And then if you can get all the way to 40 pulls, you have a 55% chance of just getting a legendary in general. And getting a new legendary in general now, even if it's from a lost 50-50, is a boost to your account. And so trying to get them out there and getting some pulls on the banners are, to me, good, even if you don't get the unit, because the pity will carry over. And let's see, I did find this tier list on Reddit. I know there's a million different ones. The one thing I've seen that I liked on this one is it kind of does rate them based on different perks of them. So depending on the content you want to do, like if they're a top tier PvP versus are they good with the early game PvE versus late PvE. Like I think the two most important ones are going to be your late game PvE and PvP if you're going to really be into it, especially the live PvP when you're versing a real player. So they have Simona down here on the lower end for tier 1.5. So she does have an aura, but her aura is pretty much, I mean, if you're going to play with her, generally you'll want to play with Gloria in PvE for sure. And Gloria's is just outright better than hers. You'll never use hers with Gloria. But when it comes to PvP, there might be a potential where, because Gloria is not the best in PvP on these ratings, there may be scenarios where you don't bring Gloria, and that aura actually could have some potential. Shows a little bit weaker on this person's perspective for the late game PvE. I mean, we don't have Tower of Adversity yet, so I don't know exactly what all that will entail in terms of it. But the ability to kite and manipulate the field has been a big thing I've noticed with the current tower. Whether you're either kiting the enemy or manipulating them in some way, whether it's through knockback, stunning them, or moving them around. That's how people have been able to beat the hardest content, even when their characters are really low level. So overall, this person says they need high investment, which is another, I kind of disagree with that. Primarily because, let's see, on her 5 stars, a lot of what you get for her star, I mean, they're all useful. I would definitely want to get at least a 3 stars if you can. I know if you're really lucky, you might have a lot of legendaries, and you have a lot that you need to build up the stars. And I'd put her probably on the lower end of needing to get some stuff, but it does make her a lot more survivable. And I think it's the 3-star. Yeah, if you get put near death, you immediately get the ice armor. So that one's really ups her tankiness. And I think 5-star even adds more to the tankiness. So eventually she is one you would want to max out, especially if you're doing PvP, so you can have her be a lot more survivable. I don't know if in live PvP it'll be obvious what the investment in a character is. So they may not anticipate you already having her at 5 stars. But yeah, overall, I don't think you need the heavy investment. She'll be immediately out of the gate really good at her controlling the battlefield. You won't have as much tankiness, but she will get with the star she'll get better. But just because you don't have all that complete tankiness in the beginning, you still have all the control aspects of her kit. So yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on it. I'd wait until we see what the next banner is. Now, I've kind of mentioned that the rumor is that Cocoa may be coming before Sophia and Auguste. Now, Cocoa, to me, and I'll go more in depth with her kit when it's announced that she's going to be released, but she's actually one that she's like the best defender by a long shot, but she's also one of the highest investment needed characters. She doesn't become like super amazing until you have her at 5 stars, because she has reading in her kit the ability to give, I think she reduces cooldown, and I think she can give energy, and it's based on a heal that she gives out to your characters. And I think from 4-star, I could probably just look it up right now, the Chinese website. So this happiness buff. So on 4-star, she has a 30% chance of applying happiness, but on 5 stars, it just states that the target gains it. So the targets from her HP at the start of the battle around 2 allies with the lowest HP, so your lowest HP allies will gain happiness. And so that happiness gives them, an energy point, as well as reducing the cooldown of the skill. So I know a lot of people are thinking, if she's next, oh, that means you have more time to save for Sophia and Auguste. But I think Cocoa is actually a huge one, especially to get early on, because you need the time. I mean, if you might think I can get lucky and get her on a 50-50 down the line, but then you get her like 4 months now. Now you need 100 days, because it takes at least 100 days to max out her stars, and that's when her real potential comes out. So I think she's a heavy one to pick up early. So to me, I have to really think that through on how many pulls I want to do, because I definitely want to get her, and then I want to get at least one of the 2 of Sophia or Auguste. I'm leaning towards Auguste simply because I'm aiming to get all the Union units, especially because using Gloria's leadership buff. And that's why I'm also shooting for Simona, just kind of getting that good Union team. And I really like the control play style, controlling the battlefield to my advantage. And then you have the one big DPS, which will be Auguste, who can just go in there and smack them around. I mean, eventually we'll need to get multiple for the power of adversity. But yeah, that's just some of my quick thoughts on pulling on Simona. Is don't be afraid to throw a few 10 pulls at her, depending on where you're at now. I mean, if you're at 130 pulls and you're like, man, I'm not close to that 180, then maybe you might want to have to skip her to make sure you can get your other units. Because there's the one thing that too you could regret, is if you don't throw the pulls on her and then say you get really lucky and Sophia comes out and you get her on your first 10 pull, and then you get Auguste within 40 10, and then you go at Cocoa and you get, I mean, if you have that luck, then yeah, you just like, oh, I could have actually gotten her if I would have went for her early and still had plenty for these. So and I feel like Now, I haven't looked too much into the kits of, like, Hasna, Homa, Karis, named Shaq, Lulu, Agatha, but a lot of these are lower tier list people, so I think a lot of people... Now, I don't know any of these characters' capabilities or what they give to the team, but the next big one, from what I understand, will be Terror. So there is a lot of potential to skip once we get past these. And I don't know if the... I mean, they may reorder the banners so that split up these. I'm not sure on that. But knowing them wanting to make money, they'll probably want to keep the most wanted characters together to encourage people to spend. So I fully expect, even if they move Krakoa to the front, that Sophia and August will probably come right after. Or very close to it. Because they're all 3 top tier units, and they all work really well together. You just kind of have to take count of where you're at on their polls, and that's just and if you're like me, which I don't know if I'd call myself a low or medium spender, but with the amount I spend on the game, getting the monthly poll packs and then the battle pass and the monthly pass, I estimate that I get about 100 polls a month. So it's going to be a lot easier for me to actually probably get all 4 of these units, if I get standard luck. So from my perspective, throwing polls is a lot easier. But if you're at 180, like if you've skipped Edda, which I'd say don't skip her because she's still available right now. I would not skip her. I would actually take Edda over Simona. She has a lot of value, especially to your magic teams if you have Barrel. But she has a lot of potential for the future as well. If you haven't pulled her Edda, I'd say pull her right now while she's available versus Simona, if you're going to throw polls at anything. But if you're sitting on your polls, I'd say, and you want Simona, but she's not I want to go all the way to 180. Don't be afraid to throw you 10 polls, because the odds, well, yeah, they're not the highest if you only do 20-30. I mean, it's still a 25% chance. I mean, that's fairly good odds at 20 polls to get your unit. Or that's 30, sorry. Well, it's 18, 25, and 33 at 40. And I think many people who've re-rolled in this game can attest, if you were re-rolling multiple times, it wasn't that hard to get your, at least from my perspective. I mean, it was about every, yeah. I mean, I was getting that 33% about every 3 re-rolls. I felt like I was getting a Gloria. I felt like almost every other roll I was getting a legendary at least on my first 20 10 pulls. So you can really feel the difference there. And that 2% really makes up for the fact that you can't guarantee after losing your first 50-50. But it's not as bad as people think in that respect. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. Now I feel like I'm starting to kind of ramble a little too much. I kind of tend to do that, it seems, in my videos. I'll need to kind of tamper it down for my future ones. But yeah, that's just my thoughts with Simona. I'd say just throw... My thing would be, if you're free to play, but you have the pulls, throw a couple at her, see if you get her. If not, you've built pity up for your next unit that you're really saving for. But then my other hint is don't think Krakoa is an easy skip. She's definitely a top tier unit, especially if you can get her this early. Alright, that's my thoughts. Thanks for watching.